In the rolling hills of Bethlehem, where the grass swayed like ocean waves under the wind's breath, a young shepherd stood alone. His name was David, small in stature, yet mighty in spirit. The son of Jesse, the youngest of 8 brothers, often overlooked but never forgotten by God. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting golden hues across the field. David stood with his staff in hand, watching over his sheep. His harp rested by a rock nearby, and as the flock grazed peacefully, David strummed gentle melodies that rose like incense into the heavens. Songs of praise, songs of courage, songs of a heart tuned to the will of the Lord. But David's peace was never without purpose. Behind the quiet life of the shepherd, there was a warrior being shaped. One battle, one lion, one bear at a time. "I have killed both the lion and the bear," David would later say. "And this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them. For even as the sheep roamed, danger lurked. One evening the silence shattered. A lion crept from the shadows, its eyes locked on a lamb. With no fear, David charged. He struck it down with his sling, rescuing the lamb from its jaws. The Lord was with him, even then. But while David guarded sheep in the quiet hills, a storm was brewing far away. Far from Bethlehem, in the Valley of Elah, the armies of Israel stood frozen in fear. Across the valley, the Philistines had pitched their tents. But it was not the army that struck terror to Saul's men. It was one man, Goliath, a giant of a warrior, nearly 10 feet tall. His armor gleamed like bronze fire in the sun. A massive spear rested in his hand, and a javelin hung on his back like a tree trunk. His voice was thunder, shaking the hearts of even the bravest warriors. "Choose a man to come down and fight me," Goliath roared. "If he kills me, we will be your servants. But if I kill him, you will serve us." For 40 days Goliath came forward, morning and evening, taunting, mocking, daring anyone to face him. And for 40 days, no one moved, not even King Saul. Back in Bethlehem, Jesse called to his youngest son. "David," he said, "take this food to your brothers at the battlefront. See how they're doing and bring me back word." David rose early the next morning. He left his sheep with a caretaker, packed the bread and cheese, and set off toward the valley, unaware that destiny was about to meet him face to face. When David arrived, the sounds of war filled the air. Trumpets shouting, metal clashing against shields. He ran to the front lines just as Goliath stepped forward once again. David froze, not in fear, but in holy anger. "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine," he asked, "that he should defy the armies of the living God?" His brothers scoffed. "What are you doing here? Go back to your sheep." But David's heart burned with courage. He didn't see a giant. He saw a man defying God, and that was enough. Word spread quickly to Saul, and soon David stood before the king himself. "You're just a boy," Saul said. "He's been a warrior since his youth." But David looked the king in the eye. "The Lord, who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the bear, will deliver me from this Philistine." Saul, hesitant but desperate, finally nodded. "Go, and the Lord be with you." He offered David his own armor, bronze helmet, heavy coat, sword at his side. But David took only a few steps before stopping. The weight didn't fit the calling. "I cannot go in these," he said. "I am not used to them." He removed the armor, left the sword behind him, and walked to the brook that wound through the valley. There, in shallow water, he knelt and selected 5 smooth stones, small, ordinary stones. But in the hands of a faithful servant, the ordinary becomes divine. With his sling in hand, David stepped onto the battlefield. The armies of Israel held their breath. The Philistines laughed. And Goliath sneered. "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" he bellowed. "Come here, boy, and I will feed your flesh to the birds of the air." But David's voice did not shake. His eyes locked onto the giant, and his words rang out across the valley. You come to me with sword, spear, and javelin. But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. Today, the Lord will deliver you into my hand. I will strike you down, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. And then it happened. David ran toward the giant, fearless. He reached into his pouch, pulled out one stone, placed it in his sling, and let it fly. The stone whistled through the air, guided not just by skill, but by the hand of heaven. Crack! The stone struck Goliath square in the forehead. The giant stumbled, eyes wide in shock, and then he fell, face down. The ground trembled as the mighty warrior crashed to the earth. Silence. David ran forward, drew Goliath's own sword, and finished what the stone had started. He lifted the blade high and struck the final blow. The Philistines froze, then scattered in fear. The army of Israel roared to life and chased them down, shouting in victory. And as David stood over the fallen champion, bloodied and breathless, all of Israel knew, God does not save by sword or spear. Victory belongs to the Lord. As the dust settled and the sun began to sink behind the hills, the battlefield grew quiet once more. David stood in the midst of them, holding the sword of the fallen giant. A shepherd boy turned warrior, not by strength or size, but by faith. King Saul, watching from a distance, was speechless. He turned to his commander and asked, "Whose son is this young man?" Word spread quickly through the camp of the boy who defied a giant, who silenced fear, who reminded a nation that the battle belongs to the Lord. And as David returned to Saul with Goliath's head in his hand, and a calm, steady fire in his eyes, the people looked at him differently. Not just as Jesse's son, not just a shepherd, but as the one anointed by God for something greater. He returned to his sheep for a time, but he would never be the same, and neither would Israel. For from that day forward, David's name was etched into history, not because he was the strongest, or the bravest, or the biggest, but because he believed, because he stood, because when others trembled, David stepped forward and trusted God to do the rest. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more inspirational Bible stories. Turn on notifications so you never miss an episode.